Good evening and welcome to Football League World TV. My name is Ned Holmes and today I'm joined by Wigan fan Adam Pendlebury for the Wigan Fan Voice Show as we look ahead to the 2022-23 Championship season and discuss what the Athletic target should be this term. How are you doing this evening, Adam?
Yeah, great, thanks. Yeah, live from Limb Services of all places.
Well, fantastic. Thanks for coming in from the services to chat all things Wigan. Before we get started, as always, just a reminder, please do like and share this video. Subscribe to Football League World TV on YouTube and let us know your thoughts in the comments. How do you think Wigan are going to get on this season? What do you think their target should be? Well, Adam, obviously we're going to look ahead to the season, but I wanted to start really by looking back at last season. Promotion via the League One title, obviously a fair bit of money spent in the summer before last season, that is, but a fantastic achievement after, battling relegation the season before and everything that came with the club being sort of asset stripped at one point. How do you reflect on last season?
Yeah, I mean, we did have to spend a bit of money, but what you got to remember is we had 3 players left for the previous season. Yeah. I think a lot of the signings were free transfers. So essentially the money that we were spending was actually money on wages. And you can understand that because we were pretty much a blank canvas. So to attract players to Wigan, I guess we had to pay a little bit more maybe than the competition was paying. That said, the players that they signed were absolutely fantastic in the way they knitted together. I would have been very happy with a mid-table finish last season, but after 4 or 5 games, I thought this team can do something. They knitted together really well. And then late in the window, when we were adding players like James McLean to the squad, fantastic signing. I think Liam Richardson fully deserved his Manager of the Year. He pretty much turned the new squad into a title-winning side, a side that, apart from the first game, wasn't outside of the top 6 all season. Very consistent, decent runs in the cups as well, bringing young players through. All positive after, like you said, that dark 12 months of being in administration and the worry of maybe not even having a club. So actually to survive the previous season and to still have a club in itself was a success. But last season was beyond all of our wildest expectations.
Yes, certainly a fantastic season. Let's talk about Liam Richardson then. You sort of name dropped him a little there. Obviously stepped out of Paul Cook's shadow and deserves a huge amount of credit for the turnaround under his tenure, not just last season's sort of title-winning success, but avoiding relegation the season before.
Yeah, he was the last one remaining in the building, essentially, after the administration. Really difficult job to keep us up, but he did it. He galvanised youth players and players on free transfers and kept us in the division. And then last season, as I've already alluded to, the building of the squad. There are a couple of players that he already knew from his time at Portsmouth, who were 2 of our best 3 players last year, Watmore and Naylor, both fantastic signings. And what I liked from him as well was that he was always very cool under pressure, very different character to Paul Cook. Paul Cook very much wore his heart on his sleeve and could be a bit prickly with the media at times. Liam Richardson, very cool, very cool. And what I liked at the end of the season is his humility. Basically, he referred to those that had lost their jobs, referred to the fans before he was like congratulating himself and the team. I think that says it all, really, and I think the players are buying into that ethos, really, of a family club. But we're also don't get me wrong, we're also playing some fantastic football as well. So great credit to Liam. Good coaching staff he's put in place as well with Rob Kelly and James Beattie. Very much improving players. Our set pieces were fantastic. We scored more goals from set pieces than any other side in League One last season. So everything that's been put together so far has been 10 out of 10. So this is the next challenge for Liam Richardson, the step up to the Championship.
Yeah, as you say, I mean, obviously, any manager that wins promotion deserves, to be playing or leading a team in that next step up. But really, you feel Liam Richardson really deserves his chance now to prove himself as a championship level manager. We'll move on.
Yeah,
then.
absolutely.
Yeah, so that's all right. We'll move on to Wigan's preparations then for the summer, for next season, rather, the summer window. A slow start, Adam, and it's only really this week we've seen the first proper senior significant signing through the door. That's Ryan Nyambe. Obviously left Blackburn Rovers at the end of his contract. He looks a fantastic addition in the sense, he's a proven championship defender, still just 24, strengthens your options at right wing back. What did you make of the deal?
Yeah, it was a surprise to me, really, because obviously he's done really well with Blackburn over the last 4 or 5 seasons. He's got 150 championship games under his belt. For a 24-year-old, that's fantastic. I like the fact as well that he's versatile. He can play across the defence, so he can play. I think his preferred position is right back, but he can slip in there at centre back and even left back. And because of, we'll probably talk about this in a moment, but because we like to be quite flexible and fluid in our formations, it's good that you can have someone on the pitch who can change positions, so you're not having to make lots of substitutes and things like that. So yeah, I'm really happy. Obviously, we've not seen him yet. He might get a debut against Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday in the friendly if he's up to speed. But if not, I suspect it's going to be eased in from the bench, maybe over the first few weeks.
Yeah, certainly an interesting one. He was linked with Middlesbrough, close to a deal there, we heard at one point, and an offer on the table from Blackburn as well. In that sense, a coup, but an interesting one, Adam. We were talking just before the show started that he's signed on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, they're unusual 1-year deals at that age. You can understand, often it's a 1-year deal with an option when they're sort of getting into the 30s. Like I think James McLean was one of those last season, but very odd for a 24-year-old. So be interesting to see why that is the case. But maybe there's some underlying injury issue, but I'd like to think not. And even if there is, I think that's what the Portsmouth fans told us about Watmore last season. Great player, but you'll never see him on the pitch. It doesn't appear to be anything from his record at Blackburn, because I think even last season he played 36, 37 games. So maybe it's just a sign of the times, essentially. There's lots of players floating around, and clubs don't want to maybe commit to long-term contracts, so it could be a sign of the times post-COVID, really, and we might see a lot more of these 1-year contracts.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to watch, certainly, and interesting, particularly if Liam Richardson, who's usually a fairly sort of open manager in press conferences, does talk about the motivation behind that deal. Let's move on to some of the outgoings then. Adam Long on a permanent deal to Doncaster, Jordan Jones on loan to Kilmarnock, Luke Robinson on loan to Tranmere. That was confirmed today, I think, and Gavin Massey released. What did you make of those? Are there any that stand out as particularly positive or negative to you?
I think pretty much as expected. I mean, Gavin Massey, 5 years at the club, great servant, but really, I guess, had his injury problems over the last 2 or 3 years. Played a really important role last year from the bench, essentially, when required. But maybe now time for him for a new challenge. Wish him all the best in the future. Adam Long will forever be remembered for playing an important role when just promoted from the under-23s when we needed him in the administration season. Last season, his chances were very limited. He only really played in the Pizza Trophy. So good luck to him. I think decent club there, Doncaster, for him at League 2 level. Robinson, I'm very happy that he's going to get football. Again, a fantastic player. I think probably for the young players, he's the one who really stepped up when we got an injury to Tom Pearce in the administration season. Didn't let us down at all. I think he will excel at League Two level. It'll give him that confidence and hopefully come back an even stronger player. He needs to play games now. He didn't play enough last season. Jordan Jones, didn't really see anything. Maybe, I think if someone would have offered a fee, I suspect he would have gone. But a season-long loan takes him, or a big part of it, off the wage bill, really. So, yeah, I think that's kind of where we're at, really. No major surprises in the outgoings. I guess it frees up some spots in the squad, really, but business has been slow. But the window is open until the end of the month, end of August, I should say. So plenty of time yet, and don't rule out some decent loan signings as well at Championship level. I think it could be. We might be waiting to see what Premier League clubs do in their business to see which players we can get in. And remember, we got a gem when we got Reece James in a few years ago. So don't rule out another quality loan signing maybe from the Premier League.
Yeah, you talked about it there. Obviously, the window open until the 1st of September. What other business do you feel needs to be done? What should be the priorities? I mean, perhaps a little lack of depth in central midfield or central defence. From your perspective, Adam, where would you like to see improvements made?
Yeah, we've had some discussions on our own podcast, Progress with Unity podcast, about areas that we may need to strengthen. I mean, I'm always loath to say to not give the players from last season a chance, but I think the squad is a little bit thin. So the right back position, I think we definitely needed cover, and we sorted that. Yeah. I think in midfield something a bit different. I think we've got some with Naylor and Power. Obviously, Cousins is injured again, which is a disappointment. He's going to be out till October. So I think in that area, we have got Scott Smith, a really good young player coming through, but I suspect he's not quite ready for week in, week out football. So potentially a bit more cover in that holding midfield role. And I do think we don't really have that true attacking centre midfield player. In the past, days gone by, the likes of a Nick Powell, that type of player, really. I guess in his day at Blackburn, a Bradley Dack type player. Those sort of players who can make things happen in tight games. Obviously, they're not easy to find. So it might be that we stick to a solid midfield and we continue to use Will Keane in that sort of attacking midfield stroke number 10 role.
Yeah, you've touched upon it there. So we'll move onto that forward line now. Obviously, Charlie White looks set to return. That's a huge positive. I mean, what formation do you really see Liam Richardson going into the season with? And beyond that, I'm interested to know where you feel he should use Will Keane, Charlie White, and Callum Lang.
Yeah, so I think it probably, as it currently stands, and obviously there'll be more income. It's probably easier to do it with the personnel, and that'll fit into the formation. So I think Ben Amos will be in goal. Yeah. I think we'll start with Tendai Derico at right back, Watmore right centre back, Tilt left centre back, Tom Pearce at left back. Then I think we'll have our three kind of two traditional midfielders in Max Power and Tom Naylor. And then I think Will Keane, again, will be in that particular role where he can support the strikers, but obviously get in the box and score the goals as well. Charlie White to lead the line in the centre, and then either side of him, James McLeod and Callum Lang. Now, some people would say that is essentially your League One starting lineup last season, which it was. Yeah. But as we alluded to before, we were signing players that clubs maybe at the lower end of the Championship were interested in, and certainly at the top end of League One. So if that was our starting lineup, I wouldn't be overly concerned. However, I'm not complacent, and I'm sure the manager and the CEO, Mal Brannigan, are very much looking to strengthen in areas. But as it stands at the moment, I think that sort of, I guess you four at the back, you sort of two midfielders, you sort of attacking midfielder, central striker and 2 wide players, really. But we can, as I said to you earlier, we can switch, as we have on many occasions, to the wing-back formation. Sure. We've got that option as well. Callum Lang's very versatile. He can play in a 2 up front. He can play on either side of the forward line. So we do have options, and then we've got some good options for the bench. The likes of Tello Asgard and Stephen Humphreys. Asgard is the one, I think, who's come through, who's got that bit of extra class. He's already a Norwegian, sort of under 21 international. Not sure he's in the league of Haaland just yet, but his build is looking similar though. He seems to grow 5 or 6 inches every pre-season. He's but very, very skillful, and if he's a player that probably there'll be few championship teams who really will know about him, so it'll be interesting to get the views on him through the season, probably from the bench to start with, but it'd be interesting to see. Blackburn Rovers certainly know what he's like, because he curled one from 30 yards into the top corner in the cup game, so they certainly know what he's like.
Yeah, they'll be worried, no doubt. I wanted to touch on Will Keane specifically. Obviously, he's a player that I guess since leaving United has bounced around a few EFL clubs. It really obviously seemed to click for him last season, winning the League One Golden Boot. I think it was 26 goals in the end. How confident are you that he'll be able to kick on and have success back in the Championship?
It's tough, because I guess you'd look at it and say he hasn't done it before. But then again, he hadn't really scored at League One level before. So has he just found his home now? Some players do take a lot longer to mature. Sometimes they take a different route, don't they, from sort of non-league up the pyramid. He's like kind of a Vardy type player, but others kind of slip down from what was obviously a great youth side at Manchester United. Obviously, his brothers represented England. Slip down the leagues and struggle because they don't find a home. If he's happy, he's got the ability. Yeah. End of the day, he's got that level of ability. Is he going to score 26 goals? No, I'm pretty certain he's not. Will he chip in with a few goals? I think he will. Yeah. Will he continue to be an important player? Yes. Do we need other players who can support him? And what I mean support him, push him on and be there to come in as and when required? Yes. And it might be that he doesn't play all the games this season like he did last season, but I'll tell you what, I'm glad that he's in our side. I'm glad he's fit. And remember, last season made his Republic of Ireland debut as well. So for a player who's come through at Man United, late 20s, to make his Republic of Ireland debut is showing that maybe he's just one of those players who's taken a long time to mature. So I'm relatively confident that he'll have a good season again.
Yeah, exciting, certainly, to see him next season. And next, we'll move on to talk about a bit the early schedule. Obviously, Adam, a return to the Championship. This first 7 games, I think it's Preston, North End start off with, then Norwich, Bristol City, Coventry City, Birmingham City, Burnley, West Brom. A mixed bag in those first 7 games, but how important is it for a newly promoted side to make a strong start?
Yeah, I think when we got promoted back, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, and we started really, really well. We won our first game, and I think we had a couple of really good performances and a couple of away wins early on, and then we really slipped off. But having those points in the bag usually give you that bit of insurance, because there will be times in the season where we'll struggle. So I do think we need to make that good start. That first game is crucial. Local derby against Preston. Get off to a good start there, because you look at the month and you're talking Norwich and Burnley down from the Premier League. We've got Coventry, who had a very good season last year and seem to be constantly going forward. Bristol City, you never know. They're a bit of an iffy side. You can't quite work them out. And then West Brom, you'd expect to be a lot better than they were last season. They're making the right type of signings. So it's a tough start, but to be fair, it's a tough league. So I mean, you could pick any 7 sides out, and I don't think we'd be saying there's any gimmies in there really. So yeah, I think there's points available early on, and if we can get a decent start, particularly try and take a few points at home, maybe pick the odd point up on the road. But what we don't want to lose the first 3 games, and we're under pressure then from the start of the season. So yeah, I think it's imperative that we make a good start.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about how strong a division it is this season. I think Bet365, we've got the odds for, but most bookies have Wigan, I think, the 6th most likely to go down in the Championship at 4-1. That's a pretty positive spin on things for the Wigan supporters. Which clubs do you think are sort of going to be around that bottom 3 that you feel you've got to finish above and you'll be safe?
Yeah, I mean you've got to put Rotherham in there because they've been the yo-yo side. I think you've got to look at potentially the sides where there's a bit of upheaval in the boardroom. They don't tend to do well, so you've got your Birminghams and your Readings potentially. Blackpool had a really good season last season. Obviously lost the gaffer. Are they going to be the same proposition this season? Blackburn, they've got a bit of an experienced manager, and they've rolled the dice with Thomason. But again, it might not pay off. And then you never know with the sides. Look at Barnsley last season, playoff side, and then just stank the league out last year. So Luton. Can Luton keep that going this season? I'm not sure. So there might be another side. So I think there's a few sides that we should definitely be targeting finishing above. If we finish 6th and bottom, I have to say at this stage, it might sound a bit negative, but I'd be very happy with that. That said, you never know in this league. If you look back previous seasons, your Lutons, your Barnsleys, Blackburn were around and about last season for a long period of time. Millwall have been floating around there as well. So there is always one side who goes way beyond expectations, the coupon buster, if you like, every week. And it could be us. That's what you've got to start the season with. But realistically, if we finish 6th bottom, the champagne will be out again.
Well, you sort of preempted it there, but finally, before we go, just wanted to ask you, first of all, what you think Wigan's target should be for this season, and secondly, what your prediction is.
Yeah, so targets, I think pretty much where you were with the what the bookies were saying. I think if we can finish sort of 5th, 6th bottom, I think that would be a good season. I think because we've got a very settled side, some good young players coming through, and excellent manager and coaching, I don't see any reason why we can't be around 10th. Sure. So I'm a little bit higher than what the maybe for those betting people, possibly putting Wigan on the handicap might be an angle in for those who have a bet. I think we might do a little bit better. Don't just look at who we're signing. Look at who we've got from last season. That would be my tip on that.
Well, certainly a positive way for us to finish, and it's some exciting times for Wigan looking forward. Just before we go then, Adam, you touched upon it earlier, but did you want to give the podcast a quick plug or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I've been now contributing to the Progress with Unity podcast. It's been a fantastic experience for me. Maybe not so in administration. I think we used it very much for sort of counselling sessions at times, but very proud of the live podcast that we did during administration. We get a really good array of guests on. We've had the CEO on. We've even had the legendary Emil Heskey on the podcast. Yeah, I do it with Barry Worthington and Paul Thorpe, with special guests every week. The listeners are going up, and hopefully in the Championship they'll go up even further. So yeah, we just keep enjoying it. And as we all do, we just love talking about football. We don't take it too seriously. We just love having a laugh and sharing our experiences.
Yeah, well, it sounds like something that certainly all Wigan fans and any fans of the EFL should be listening to. Well, that's everything from us on Football League World TV today, but do tune in tomorrow as we've got another action-packed day of fans' voice previews for the season. That just leaves me to say thank you very much, Adam, for joining us. And
You're
thanks
welcome
for watching.